Good day and welcome to episode 6 in Conversation with Partners, sponsored by Micro Focus Channel. And we've got BoaTech. Boa is in for us again, a regular. You're going to take this gig from me, dude. You're a natural. And Siku Kashane, who has joined us again, the hacker above all hackers, wearing a white hat with his summer do. You can't see the white hat because it's summer. And we're really rounding off this series with this so what and who cares, the consequence of not acting. And the consequences are obvious to some of us, not so obvious to others. If you have a digital presence, if you have a way for people to get hold of you, you have a potential for security breaches, hacks, and attacks. So, by law, who is accountable for security at the organization and looking after their data, Boaz?
With Poppy coming into effect earlier this year, I think they were quite clear in terms of who the organization should appoint to look after data or the assets of the company when it comes to security. So the information officer, which the regulator recommends that each and every organization has to appoint one. I mean, it doesn't have to be the CIO, it doesn't have to be the CEO, but organizations can appoint someone that will be ultimately be responsible for any consequences or actions for, not having secure by design.
Awesome. Right in the first 3 minutes, he drops that. I can't believe it. You didn't even let me get my breath. I'm so proud of you. So we've got an information officer, and if it's not that, it's the CEO who's going to be in trouble if there is a breach. Are we seeing more? We've got information officer, CISO, we've got data scientist, data architect. Are there a lot more positions that are being formed because of the fluidity of this environment?
I think in terms of Papaya, there are many areas that we need to focus at in terms of ensuring that data privacy, we take care of the data, we ensure that as we collect the data, we use it for the mere purpose of driving the business, and also we understand regulations around data privacy, especially Papaya. It's not only that, also there's other regulations also that are binding in with regards to data. Okay. But in terms of security, I think we also need to understand that the adoption of security is not only around data. No. Security, we need to look at security end-to-end for the organization, including data of which today it's a new currency. So we need to ensure that how we safeguard our environment, and also for data on-rest and data on runtime.
Awesome. It's very easy to get sucked into just looking at the data itself and thinking that that's security, but that's only one chapter in the book, isn't it?
Indeed.
We're looking at applications, we're looking at integrations, we're looking at the perimeter security. Indeed. We've got to look at the organization in totality. It's incredibly fluid, like I've said before, but it's also exciting, isn't it? Is that why you work in here? Because there's so much constant change.
Partly, but yeah, I mean, you can't have interest in something that is not exciting. That's why I love mountain biking. But it is all about making sure that organizations, assets are safeguarded. And we in the business of helping organizations secure their environments, adhere to the regulation, i.e. Papaya. That's very important, but not only that you want to run away from the watchdog like Papaya, you want to make sure that your organization is safe from being breached. But not only that, I had a chat with one customer that said to me, I'm not really concerned about being breached. I know I will be, but I want to know how quickly I will recover after a breach. And that for me was quite telling, that you have different customers looking at how they can safeguard their environment, and then some of them have given up saying, I will be hacked, I will get ransomware, but I want to know how quickly I will recover from an attack.
Okay, that's actually a very interesting one. So we're run by pessimists. It's going to happen to us. How quickly can I fix it? What is a breach to you, Siku?
So basically, when you try to break it down in terms of a breach, and especially from offensive security or from ethical hacking, we need to look at, today we start looking at assumed breach. Assumed breach, as we're testing the environment, you're testing this with the assumption that the environment has been hacked.
Okay.
So you start from there and test all these security controls that are in place to see if there's any issues or there's any misconfiguration. By the mere fact of doing that, you are trying to ensure that even if an attacker is able to gain access into your environment, you are able to detect their events, you're able to see their movement, of which from hacking is called lateral movement. You want to see every single event or activity they are performing within the organization, and when they are trying to even bypass the security controls, you need to have sight of all this so that when an attacker is able to gain access into the environment, you are able to delay them to be able to take over the entire environment.
So let's go back to that. So what is a breach? Is it when someone's on our landing page? Is it when someone's in our network? Is it when someone's in our application? Is it when someone's in our bank account? Or is it all of those? What is a breach to you?
It's all combined, I would say. Normally, a breach is not like compromising an application that you have gained access into the environment. Most, especially from the defense, we call it blue team. From the blue team, normally their main focus is Active Directory. But once the attacker has gained access, even compromising Active Directory, that is not the end game.
Okay.
That Active Directory, it actually gives them access and also the understanding of moving literally around the environment, to understand how the business operates, to understand the crown jewel. It gives them access into the crown jewel because they've compromised the AD. Okay. Now they've got super access into the environment. Now they're able now to encrypt the data. Now they're able to execute a ransomware. By the mere fact of a breach taking place, it does not mean that the breach has occurred on that particular day. Normally, an attacker will spend months and months trying to understand the environment, and they remain stealthy.
Wow. So you don't even know they're there. They're just busy scoping.
When you start to hear on the news that so-and-so has been hacked, the attacker has been in that environment for a very long time.
So when we think about Transnet, at what happened there, those people were there for a long time. Was that ransomware? What happened? What actually happened at Transnet?
I think at Transnet, based on what we have heard on the news, it might be related to a ransomware, but for now we just take it as a breach. A breach can be anything.
Okay.
A breach can be anything. It might be a ransomware. It might be someone has gained access into the environment, but they managed to mitigate that based on the kill chain. But depending on the depth of this attack, it might cause a harm, and also in terms of the recovery, will you be able to recover? The most important thing is, are you able to detect when an attacker tries to land into your environment?
Well, we can answer that one, eh? They couldn't. They closed the busiest port in Africa. It's it's terrible. Do you know anything else about that? Was that ransomware? What?
I think, it's pretty much very related to ransomware. It was more to a ransomware because it had to do with stopping the business, saying that, as CQ explained what ransomware is all about, holding the key, you're locked inside your house and you can't go out. So I think what happened to Transnet was very much related to it being a ransomware.
Wow. You know, it used to be in the olden days where they used to bundle you off in your car and take you away and phone up your wife and say, give me $1,000 and we'll give it back. I'll give you $2,000 if you keep him. That's what not my wife, she would never say that. And now they just come into your system and say, give me $1,000 so you can get access to your system.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's very scary. What does that do to your reputation, do you think?
I think it does maximum damage because you're looking at your stakeholders, customers, users. If you look at a Transnet example, the impact it had if you are in a business of importing goods from across the world, it affected everyone who was, waiting for their goods to arrive, and then they might have been locked or arrived and, sitting at a port without the systems in place to distribute those goods. So it is quite an impact to the business and users of your environment or workers within your organization. They will just not do anything because there's nothing to do until someone that has been assigned to fix the problem has finished. And customers can't trust you anymore because they think, you are not protecting your environment. You didn't preempt this from happening, and then you should have seen this from far away as a big organization. So it is a long-term reputational damage.
Sure. It must be quite interesting being around the C-level discussions when they're in the midst of this.
Indeed.
What advice do you have for a C-level who's going through this?
I think the approach, it might be just to learn from the attack, lesson learned, and to be able to close the gaps.
Okay. Start listening to the security people.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is important because I think, we've spoken about this before, that organizations don't really want to listen to security experts until something bad happens to them. They start being attentive when they have had a problem or they've been attacked. So it is important that you need to listen because it can happen to any organization at any time. I mean, CQ talked about that, hackers don't come today and they expose you. It takes some time. They could be sitting there for years or months just trying to find the sweet spot for them to explode and probably go out in the media or let you know that we have this and then we're waiting for you to give us what we asked for. So, I mean, we talking about Transnet, DOJ as well. Similar situation. We know how critical DOJ is for the country and absolutely important.
It seems like the armed robberies moved from trying to take on the banks or to take on the big stores. They're now going the cash in transit. People are moving. They're moving to these big entities, the state-owned entities, and really impacting the world at this level. This is bad stuff. We have to take it seriously. Where do we go to learn more so that as a manager, as a leader of the organization, I can stay up to speed? What reading do you recommend?
There is a whole lot of reading out there. The public network, as we know it, internet has, lots of examples. And you look at in 2019, stats are saying there was 4 billion lost as a cost by breach. So there is publicly available information that the CIOs, the CEOs, or the C-level executives, even anyone who is involved in a big organization can read about. And also, not only reading, but interact with your peers globally who are in the same kind of business that you are. Understand what threats they might have been facing or they are facing. I mean, if you look at South Africa, we are a developing country, but sort of a first world in Africa, but we are prone to physical crime, but now we are very much vulnerable to cyber crime. So it's very important that we keep abreast, we read and we interact with our peers globally. And I think companies elsewhere in the world would be very open to share their equivalents in this country, but it's very important that we take this seriously.
So these threat reports that come out from Micro Focus, you read these, you examine these tip to toe?
Absolutely. Okay. And we can share with them. I think, customers can request those threat reports and we can share with them because from a Micro Focus point of view, those reports are taken from elsewhere in the world and then they're sharing with us as partners so that we can share with customers.
So forewarned is forearmed. Podcasts you recommend or reading or sites?
Yes, indeed, I will recommend as well. And it's also important that within the organization, we also have a security awareness.
Okay.
Just to educate our users and also have the awareness that will actually focus on touch at every security component within the organization.
So you talk about a campaign there into our users to make them aware of passwords,
Yes.
application security, speaking.
Yes.
Okay, that's very good. But do you have any podcasts you would recommend for us, or any reading that you would recommend that you go and get information from?
From my side, I normally spend time into hacking tools. So my main focus is into hacking podcast and also the new techniques in terms of bypassing security controls.
Okay. So you like the Matrix. You like Neo and the Matrix. He wants to break into the background the whole time. That's pretty cool. Often the discussion is about the costs of this data management and the data management framework and the security framework versus the breach. Is that how we look at it? Or is there another way of looking at this cost that we're going to be paying in your mind?
I think I touched on earlier on one customer that mentioned that it's imminent that I will be hacked. And how he defined that to me is I've written a strategy around security, and my strategy is let me be hacked, but I want someone who can help me to recover and to recover quickly. So you find different organizations looking at it differently, and the cost comparison can always give you a direction. In my view, I think the cost of recovery might be higher depending on the size of the data, and you'd want to, prevent rather than, go to hospital and try to recover afterwards.
After we've lost the limb, it's not that great.
I mean, with COVID, we know it was a story about being jabbed. You want to prevent going into the hospitalization, and I think that is more on being safe. So I would recommend that companies try to be on the safe side. The cost is much lower than trying to recover after an attack.
I think that's very sage advice. I think we need to put the things in place that get us recovered lightning fast. I said here, hacked but lightning recovery is what we're looking for. So, Boaz, you've been through 6 of these now. What question should we have asked this hacker with regards to the consequences of not acting or security in general? What would you like to see answered by our pet hacker?
I would like to know from Siku, what sector did you find more difficult after, having or assessing that environment or testing that environment, pen testing the environment? Which sector? You don't need to mention the customer, but you can tell us which sector, because maybe the size of the data determined the difficulty of the assessment, or what was the determining factor?
So you're saying what is the toughest sector to enforce security on?
Yeah, and what are the elements that cause
and why?
Yeah.
So I would answer this perhaps in 2 ways. Firstly, it depends on the complexity of the organization, and if the organization, your interaction with customers, and also how big is your environment. For example, if you also have third parties that also connect into your environment, that is also part of security. But if you're running a spaza shop, my database, it's the attack surface, and for me, it's so little then, because I'm only focusing on a small component, or perhaps maybe I'm logging my stock or my database is on an Excel spreadsheet, as compared to someone who's running a database, who's running collecting unstructured database, who's running transactions. So it means the implementation of security will be much more different. It's the complexity in terms of adopting the security in that environment.
He's swerving our question, eh? He's swerving our question. What's the toughest sector you've worked in and why?
For me, I would say it's more around in a banking industry.
Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, it should be tough.
It's tough, but we have seen that they invest more into security to ensure that the environment it's secured, because we know that today everything is around on the cyberspace. The attacks that we see, ransomware that we see, any data breach would cause the harm to actually the organization.
Okay.
But we have seen that they've adopted this sophisticated technology to ensure that they defend against this cybercrime.
Okay. What is the one thing, Siku, that you wish business owners would start doing that would make your security job much easier?
I think security is not that complex.
There goes the sale. Okay.
We should start by security is a principle.
Okay.
You need to adopt security and also implement all this baseline.
Okay.
Once you've covered the baseline, then you can have all this nice to have technologies in place. Because security is actually to ensure that you defend the adversary to gain access into your environment.
Okay. I made it. It's a principle. Bake it into your culture.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
If you were sitting in my chair, what would you ask the owner of a successful security company to wrap up a series like this?
I would say just in brief, as a rep, in light with what is happening within the country, what can you just say in terms of closing?
So I think for me, what's very key is we need to have our customers understanding the complexity of their environment, and we can help them to understand that. We can come into their environments and do data discovery, assessment. We can come into their environments, do data classification assessments. We can come into their environments and do assessments in general around their perimeter, around their channels to the public network. And that's very important, because if you don't understand the complexity, when you get hit, similarly to what happened to Transnet, what happened to DOJ, it can be detrimental, because recovery will take longer, and then you will lose trust with your customers, with your users, and everyone who's a stakeholder in your business.
Awesome. What question should I have asked him?
What sport does he like?
Oh, I like that. Let's get to know him. You know, Siki, we don't even know you. I take it we know Boaz and we understand his love for sport. Are you a sporty guy, or are you one of those people send pizza under the door because you're busy playing on 5 different computers?
Remember, I'm a father of 3 boys. They're so energetic. So we spend most of our time outdoors, running, horse riding, mountain biking, and so on.
That's amazing. And you're from Joburg, hey?
Yes, in Gauteng, Centurion.
Okay, Centurion, for you who don't know it, it's a village between here and nowhere, and then Pretoria, a really, really nice area that we like to go to. Welcome to Fourways. I'm so glad you've got shoes on today. It's just amazing. It must be interesting watching your boys grow. If you could bring them into IT now, what section would you bring them into, and what would you prepare them with? What learning would you prepare them with?
Very interesting question. I've got my firstborn, he's 13 years old. He started doing artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning with the University of Texas University. So he's doing AI for high school, yet he's still in primary school. He's 13 years and is in grade 6. So he's doing all this AI stuff because AI is the future.
Wow.
And just to shock you, he doesn't want to be in IT space. He wants to become a medical doctor.
Don't I feel like a loser? That's amazing. That is so cool. You know, the more the technology makes leaps and bounds, the more we can't advise our kids.
Indeed.
Apart from being good humans, you know. It's great. And yourself, where are you going to the next couple of weeks before December holidays?
In the next couple of weeks, I'm looking forward to going into the bush. And I told you how much I love going to the bush. So I'll be, visiting Mpumalanga just before, the summer break. So looking forward to that.
I'm glad. It's been really good to get to know you and BoaTech. We are looking forward to seeing your name in lights as you grow from strength to strength, landing new customers. If you're looking for a security partner, I've got one next to me. He's big, he's bad, and he gets work done. If you're looking for a hacker, look to my right. We can talk around that another time. But ethical hackers, People look for you to come and do these pen tests to make sure their perimeter's secure, making sure their environment's secure. Together, you guys are making such a nice partnership. I hope it goes really well. And that's why Micro Focus is doing this, is to let us know who are the channel partners out there so we can buy from Africans, for Africans, and build African solutions that can span the globe. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. As the fastest growing area, security, I want to thank Micro Focus for putting their money where their mouth is and allowing us to have conversations as partners, as business people, and to grow this environment. From my side, Daniel Robus, I'm going to wrap up by throwing a curveball and asking Boaz and BoaTech to wrap up the series.
Thank you, Daniel, and it has been great. I think the last couple of series we've had exciting times, and looking forward to you as customers reaching out to us, talking to us about your problems, issues that you're experiencing, helping you around things like ransomware, trying to help you not to fall into that trap. And for us, this is exciting times in our space, and we're really excited about this. We working with, for us, a guy like Siku is a partner to us. We look forward to working with him in areas where his skills are required, and this is exciting times. And thanks, Daniel, for your time and your professionalism. We are really excited about this. Thank you very much, and see you soon.